After a deadline extension, we're coming up on the date when law enforcement agencies in Horry and Georgetown counties have to go digital with evidence. How the process is going and what still needs to be done. Also at 6, it's been nearly 2 years since Hurricane Matthew damaged the Surfside Beach Pier, and those repairs yet to get off the ground. So what's holding up that project? We're going to find out.
Plus, the death penalty is wrong in all cases. That's the decree from Pope Francis. How a South Carolina priest and lawmaker feel about this change in Roman Catholic teaching. WNBF News at 6 starts right now.
Live, local, late breaking. This is WNBF News at 6.
Thanks for joining us for WNBF News at 6. I'm Caitlin Stansel.
Good evening to you. I'm Eric Weisfeld. Boy, another day, another look ahead to a rainy forecast.
More rain, more rain, more rain. First Alert Chief Meteorologist Jamie Arnold joining us with your first look at 6 of that radar right now and the next round of showers and storms we can expect.
And yeah, we are getting that break out there right now. Looking at that drying trend on tap for the weekend. Got the rest of my First Alert forecast coming up.
Over the last 6 months, the 15th Circuit Solicitor's Office has been working with different police departments across Horry and Georgetown counties to make the switch to digitally storing evidence.
And Solicitor Jimmy Richardson says that process is almost fully complete. Marissa Tansino spoke with him about what else needs to be done.
Richardson says for the most part they've gotten all local agencies on board and ready to go digital. He says they're just working right now with the City of Georgetown's police department, and next they just need to bring defense attorneys up to par on what needs to be done on their end to make this digital process fully complete.
So for the last 6 months, Tanya and several people from our office have gone out to each of the police stations and shown them just what they need.
15th Circuit Solicitor Jimmy Richardson says his office has already received about 900 cases where evidence has been tracked and stored digitally.
There hadn't been one scrap of paper used. They just upload everything from Atlantic Beach or City of Conway or DEU.
From there, Richardson says, once uploaded to a computer system, it goes to a portal which transfers to the solicitor's office.
We're sending it out hard copy. Our next step will be to educate local defense bar.
Local attorney Brad Richardson says from a defense attorney's standpoint, it will make evidence more accessible and be able to track what's there and when.
Nowhere else in the state have they had this sort of cooperation between all of the different agencies and getting everybody on board. So it's been a little bit of a pain, but everybody's worked very well together.
The solicitor says once everything is fully in place, getting the defense evidence will be as simple as the push of a button, saving lots of time and paper.
I would say probably somewhere in the high 80s, if not 90%, finished with what we need to do to have a completely paperless system.
And in terms of cost, Richardson says they needed to buy extra storage so they have a place to put all that digital evidence, which costs them about $35,000. In Conway, Marissa Tansino, WNBF News.
Officers at the Horry County Police Department are spending their week training for active shooter situations. Patrick Lloyd got an inside look at that training at Socastee Elementary.
The police department actually requires every officer to go through this kind of training at least once a year. And with the recent shooting in Parkland, Florida, it's a time where a lot of people are worried that something like this might happen close to them. So the knowledge to handle situations like this is just so important. Each officer is required to go through 8 hours of training, and that's usually spread out between 2 days with 4-hour sessions each day. This training started at the beginning of the week, and today is the last day for it. For the most part, this is all stuff these officers already learned when they first became officers, but it's something that needs to be emphasized every year so as to keep those skills sharp. Training officer Kevin Cast says another reason it's so important to do this every year is because active shooters don't always operate the same way.
In the event that we see different types of trends being used by some of these suspects in some of these shootings across the country, we try to implement them in our training because training is ever evolving. We're looking to adapt and basically keep our officers current in order to give them the tools to succeed in mitigating a situation as such as an active shooter situation.
Now, I also asked about the windows here you see behind me. A lot of parents have reached out to us concerned about the fact that there's so much glass, making it easy for people to see into these new schools in Horry County. And Officer Cass told me the training techniques for active shooter situations are the same for basically any building with 4 walls and 1 roof. Reporting in Socastee, Patrick Lloyd, WNBF News.
In an update to breaking news we followed for you yesterday, we have learned the mother who reported her son missing hours before he was found safe at a friend's house endangered her kids because she was too impaired to protect them. The Darlington County Sheriff's Office arrested Sharmika Ross, charging her with 2 counts of unlawful neglect. Authorities say Ross reported her son missing around 9:30 yesterday morning, prompting a several hours-long multi-agency search. That boy was found safe around 4 hours later. Ross, though, reportedly gave permission for her son to spend the night, but didn't remember. That's when arrest warrants released today say Ross was too impaired to protect her children. Both the boy and his baby sister were taken into emergency protective custody with the Department of Social Services.
The latest now on a string of burglaries in the Grand Dunes area. Myrtle Beach police say they've responded to a number of break-ins in that community. And tonight, they're hoping you can identify this suspect and help officers catch him. Police actually released 2 surveillance clips today. One of them appears to show someone waving at the camera you saw right there while heading toward a door. In the second, the person is seen walking away quickly. Police say another incident happened yesterday in the 1500 block of Shiani Lane around 3:45 in the afternoon. A man told police he put his gun in the glove compartment of his car to go shooting. He then went back inside his house to do some other things, and when he came back to his car, the gun was gone, along with $26 in cash. If you have any information about either of these incidents, you're asked to contact Myrtle Beach Police.
These 4 people have been charged after police say 2 of them assaulted a man who kicked his girlfriend in the head. Authorities say officers were called to Fifth Avenue North and Chester Street, where they found the victim, Artavius Cox, lying on the sidewalk there. Cox's girlfriend told authorities they got into an argument and he kicked her in the face while she was bent over. That's when police say bystanders assaulted Cox with their hands and a blunt object. Authorities say Chadley McFalls and Dustin McFalls are each charged with attempted murder now. Christina Adcock and Preston Grigg were also charged with accessory after the fact to a felony in connection with this case. Cox was taken to a hospital for his injuries. Police say they have requested a warrant to arrest him for second-degree domestic violence.
New tonight, take a look at this man. He's charged with second-degree murder after authorities say he gave a woman heroin, causing her to overdose and die. The Robeson County Sheriff's Office says Simone Hunt was found unresponsive May 9th in the 100 block of Piedmont Drive. Witnesses told investigators that man, Marquand Newell, gave Hunt heroin just before she died. And Newell, who's from Dillon, was behind bars at the Marion County Detention Center on several other drug charges. He was released Friday and transferred to the Robeson County Detention Center, where he's held on a $500,000 bond.
We are coming up on 2 years since Hurricane Matthew hit South Carolina, and the Surfside Beach Pier still is not repaired. What's holding that project up? Coming up.
New at 6, the city of North Myrtle Beach says it's closer to hiring a parking consultant. A request for proposals has been issued now. City officials plan to select that consultant around mid-September. This comes amid parking issues in the city, with residents filing a lawsuit about parking on the median, which was later dismissed. Part of the consulting process will include ideas and concerns from city council, city staff, residents, businesses, and the public. South Carolina Department of Transportation will also participate in this process, but any final approval of short-term and long-term public parking plans rests with City Council. We have new details at 6 o'clock. It's a story we've actually been following for you. After more than half of the Surfside Beach Pier was destroyed during Hurricane Matthew.
It still remains in the same condition as it was almost 2 years ago. Audrey Biss learned today what the next step is and the reasons for the holdup.
We're looking at around 4 years of estimated completion time now. However, Surfside Beach Mayor Bob Childs says the new pier will be the only concrete pier in all of South Carolina. So he says it'll be well worth the wait.
Oh, there's no question about it. The concrete pier will withstand a lot of storms that the regular wood pier would not. And I hope that concrete pier will be up for a long, long time before anything happens to it.
But before any work begins, FEMA must complete an environmental impact study to make sure the concrete doesn't have an effect on the water. That study can take up to 18 months.
I thought it was closed, that you couldn't even go up there. So
When Mike Redmond moved to Surfside Beach last fall, his first thought?
actually, I've been wondering how come the pier is not in good shape.
And Mayor Childs is anxiously awaiting for construction to get underway.
It's built really well, or will be built really well with concrete and breakaway wood panels. If the water comes up and hits the panels, actually pushes the panels out. They go down the beach, we go to get them and put them back in. So it doesn't, nails and screws don't tear up as the pier is hit by a wave.
As far as timeline, once the environmental study is complete,
2 years might even be squeezing it too tight, but that certainly won't be done in less time.
along with building 3 new single-story buildings.
We'll have the pier diner, we'll have the tackle shop, and then we'll have another building there to put a business that we haven't determined yet is what it would be.
It took more than a year to get the $10 million FEMA money approved. Mayor Childs gives credit to our state legislatures for securing that money.
I hope the government can get their studies done and get this thing rebuilt, because everybody else has their pier, right? So hopefully Surfside can have their pier also.
The final drawings of the new concrete pier are around 95% complete. Town Council should see those plans in the next few weeks, and we'll share those with you as soon as we get them. Reporting in Surfside Beach, Audrey Bisk, WNBF News.
Live, local, late breaking. This is WNBF News at 6.
Ahead on WNBF News at 6, the Attorney General's office says a state constable should not be charged after firing at a man during a traffic stop earlier this year. How Florence's mayor is reacting to the news.
Also ahead, we're taking a closer look at newly released video from police showing suspects inside homes during a string of burglaries in the Grand Dunes area.
Plus, he's serving a life sentence for killing Michael Jordan's father in Robeson County 25 years ago, but he claims he's innocent. The latest in Daniel Green's pleas for a retrial, all new tonight. Thanks for joining us for WNBF News at 6. I'm Caitlin Stansel.
We're glad you're with us. I'm Eric Weisfeld. A nice break from the rain and a look at weekend improvements.
Chief Meteorologist Jamie Arnold looking ahead to hopefully some drier days.
Yeah, we are going to gradually dry things out, but heading in the right direction. That full weekend forecast just a few minutes away.
Our top story at 6, new details on this constable-involved shooting from March.
In a memo sent to the city of Florence, the South Carolina Attorney General's office recommended there was no wrongdoing when Constable Christopher Bachochin opened fire on Brandon Flood during a traffic stop.
Nia Watson spoke with city officials about the decision and what they've been doing with the constable program since this incident.
I talked with Florence Mayor Stephen Wukila. Wukila says while he respects the Attorney General's decision, right now the police department is reevaluating the roles of state constables.
When I saw the video of the incident back in March, I was deeply troubled and disturbed. That hasn't changed.
In the memo, the Attorney General's office cites the Stand Your Ground law in Bachochin's defense, stating Bachochin lawfully used deadly force and, quote, believed that he and fellow officers were in actual imminent danger, nearly hitting Officer Burgess and himself when Flood backed up to drive off.
Obviously, as a lawyer and as the mayor, I respect the rule of law.
Wukila says that night Bachochin was riding along with the officer as part of his recertification, a program that's currently suspended. Meanwhile, Wukila says the department is figuring out what the relationship should be between police officers and state constables.
That's not as easy a question as it may seem. It would be pretty simple to say, well, we're just simply not going to interact with constables anymore.
Wukila reiterated constables are volunteer police officers that help when the department needs extra enforcement.
We do have these events, the Pecan Festival and others like it, where you've got thousands and thousands of people, and our police force simply isn't large enough.
Still, the community has a great deal of concern since the incident, and despite the Attorney General's decision, Wukila says the city's making sure communication with the public remains a top priority.
The city of Florence as an entity, I hope and believe, has conducted itself in as open and transparent and unifying way as we know how.
We reached out to Brandon Flood's attorney, but he declined to comment at this time. Reporting in Florence, Nia Watson at WNBF News.
We also have brand new information released in the memo from the state AG's office that we got today. In it, it shows a urinalysis found cocaine, opiates, and cannabinoids in Flood's system. We also learned from the memo after Flood drove away, authorities found his car, but he wasn't in it. According to that memo, investigators discovered his wife took him to a hospital where he was treated for gunshot wounds to the chest, shoulder, arm, and knee.
Tonight, we're seeing more surveillance video police hope will lead to suspect identities after a string of burglaries in the Grand Dunes area. This is a story we've been following all week for you, and we want to give you a good look at these newly released videos. Myrtle Beach police say they are working with Horry County Police to figure out just who this is. Both agencies also working together to identify the person who appears to have gotten inside the gate to the pool there wearing a light-colored hat. And Myrtle Beach police also sharing this video that appears to show two people inside someone's kitchen, and it looks like they're stealing from the fridge and then filling up a cooler. For a closer look at these videos, head to our website, WNBFnews.com. We've posted this story on the Live Links page. That's under the Home tab. If you have any information about any of the people seen here or this string of burglaries, you're asked to call Myrtle Beach Police.
The latest now on a problem the city of North Myrtle Beach has been working on for a long time: parking. Well, now leaders have decided to bring in professional help. Aaron Edwards has a look at the city's request for a parking consultant.
The consultant will look into parking issues throughout the city, including the problematic area here on Ocean Boulevard.
But we want to take a fresh look at everything through a consultant's eyes.
That consultant will come up with both a short and long-term parking plan for the city of North Myrtle Beach.
A long-term plan may be it's going to be a little more complicated because not only should it identify phases of implementation, but it's going to depend whether or not we can find funding for it as well.
Parking issues in North Myrtle Beach date back 2 years when the city started to allow parking on the median of Ocean Boulevard. But back in June, officials decided to ban median parking, leaving those who usually park on the median to instead park on the side streets in front of homes.
That sort of rose up out of nowhere this year, and we've got to deal with it in the future because it's coming back next summer, and we need a plan.
According to the RFP, the items of interest are inventory of public beach parking, limited sight distance at intersections and driveways due to on-street parking, preliminary analysis of the feasibility of implementing paid parking.
We're already including South Carolina DOT in a lot of our pre-consultation discussions about ideas that we've had. We've been doing that all along. They'll be a participant along with the public, and that includes residents, businesses, and the traveling public, and anybody from Horry County that comes to our beaches, because they have a stake in this as well.
Dowling tells me the city will hold vision meetings where they will hear the public's input on the parking issues.
We're not going to please everybody, but we hope to get everybody's input. And that's something that we like to do in these sorts of situations.
Dowling says they do have a cost for the consultant, but they're not ready to release that information yet. Reporting in North Myrtle Beach, Aaron Edwards, WNBF News.
Also in North Myrtle Beach, after more than a year without a police chief, some officials have had to work together to fill that position's responsibilities. But now the search has begun. Marissa Tansino spoke with city officials, found out what this new police chief will be expected to do, all to help keep you safe.
Public Safety Director Jay Fernandez says community policing is the foundation of the North Myrtle Beach's Public Safety Department, and they want the new police chief to enhance what they already have in place. Fernandez says building relationships in the community is key, whether it's with visitors, businesses, or locals. The last police chief retired in June of 2017. Fernandez says since then, he and a few other officials within the department have taken charge with those responsibilities since then. He says since announcing the opening position 2 days ago, the department has already received about half a dozen applications.
But also we're committed too that if we look through the applicants that we have, and we're not comfortable with any of these applicants because they don't fit our needs, as we term it, we're going to throw them back in the pond.
Fernandez says depending on how the hiring process goes, they hope to announce the new police chief by November, but they probably won't have that person start until January 1st. In North Myrtle Beach, Marissa Tansino, WNBF News.
He's serving a life sentence for killing Michael Jordan's father in Robeson County, and after 18 years of fighting to have his case heard again, Daniel Green appeared before a judge. The latest in this case, all new and next on WNBF News at 6. New at 6, the man convicted of killing Michael Jordan's father in 1993 in Lumberton appeared in court today, requesting a new trial and a new attorney. Daniel Green's been waiting 18 years to get his case back in front of a judge. He first filed a motion for appropriate relief back in 2000, which is a motion made wanting to correct errors that happened before, during, or after a criminal trial. Green says he's innocent, and his attorney believes there is new evidence to prove it. The NBC affiliate in Raleigh reports today's hearing centered on Green wanting one of his attorneys removed from the case, and that attorney voluntarily withdrew. Now, Chris Mumma from the North Carolina Center on Actual Innocence will take over as Green's lead attorney. That new attorney says he is convinced that Green is not guilty of the murder of James Jordan. Green and Larry DeMary were convicted in 1996, and DeMary testified at that trial that Green was the one who shot Jordan. Jordan was killed 3 years earlier, July 23, 1993, when he was shot while sleeping in his car in Robeson County. His body was found 11 days later in a North Carolina swamp. Because DeMary made a deal with the state and testified against Green, he is now eligible for parole while Green serves a life sentence. The next step in Green's case will be a hearing in December where the judge will decide whether or not he will move forward in hearing what his new attorney says is new evidence in this case.
Also new tonight, a local